Religion shapes societies in profound ways, influencing culture, politics, and personal lives. The U.S. South stands out as a particularly devout region, earning the nickname the Bible Belt for its deep-seated religious fervor. But this distinctiveness raises one question. Why is the South so much more religious than other parts of the United States? And to understand this, we need to explore the historical, cultural, and social factors that have shaped the religious landscape of the American South. So let's get into it. The roots of religious distinction: early colonization. The religious intensity of the South traces back to the early colonization period, when the British established their first permanent settlement in Jamestown, Virginia in 1607. The settlers primarily adhered to the Anglican Church, which is the Church of England. This religious affiliation was intertwined with their loyalty to the British Crown and aimed to replicate English societal structures. However, while the South was largely Anglican, the North, particularly New England, saw the arrival of the Puritans. Fleeing religious persecution in England, these Puritans sought to create a society based on their serious religious beliefs. The Puritan influence permeated every aspect of life in New England, from governance to daily routines, establishing a deeply religious and moralistic community. These guys were serious. Divergence in religious evolution. Now, over time, the initial religious fervor of the Puritans in New England began to wane. The second and third generations of settlers didn't share the same intensity of religious conviction as their ancestors did. Economic prosperity and the arrival of people with diverse beliefs diluted the Puritan influence, leading to a rise in secularism. In contrast, the South's religious landscape evolved differently. The region's less homogeneous religious environment allowed for a form of Christianity that was more intertwined with everyday life and less rigid than Puritanism. This flexibility helped sustain its influence, making religion a significant part of the cultural identity in the South. The economic and geographical differences between the North and the South further contributed to the divergence in religious intensity. New England's rocky soil and shorter growing seasons made large-scale agriculture challenging, leading to a diversified economy that included fishing, shipbuilding, and trade. This economic diversity spurred urban development and industrialization, which in turn fostered secularism and diverse viewpoints. Now, in contrast to this, the South wasn't really the same. The South's fertile soil and longer growing season supported large plantations focused on cash crops like tobacco, cotton, and rice. This agricultural focus created a more traditional, community-centered way of life, where the church played a significant role. The rural nature of the South helped maintain religious traditions and community cohesion. And this religious fervor in the South was also fueled by a series of religious revivals known as the Great Awakenings. Yeah, it's a pretty serious name. These movements played a crucial role in shaping the region's religious identity. Let's go ahead and talk about these. The First Great Awakening, 1730 to 1755. This period saw the rise of evangelical Protestantism, emphasizing personal religious experiences and emotional connections with God. Charismatic preachers like George Whitefield and Jonathan Edwards led passionate revivals, drawing large crowds and fostering a deep sense of religious commitment. The South, with its more rural and decentralized nature, embraced this movement more readily than the more structured and hierarchical religious communities in the North. Now, let's talk about the Second Great Awakening, 1795 to 1840. This second revival focused on attracting new members and re-engaging worshippers through energetic tent revivals and mass conversions. The Baptist and Methodist churches, with their emphasis on personal redemption and decentralized structures, grew rapidly in the South. The movement's inclusive message, offering salvation to all, regardless of social status or race, resonated deeply in the hierarchical society of the South. The Third Great Awakening, 1855 to 1930. Marked by a promotion of social activism and the establishment of organizations like the Salvation Army and the YMCA, this period also saw a continued growth of Christianity in the South. The intellectuals and scholars of this era built schools and universities closely tied to Christianity, leaving a lasting influence on the region. The fourth and final Great Awakening, 1960 to 1980. While debated among historians, this period saw the rise of televangelism and religious broadcasting, further cementing the South's religious identity. Evangelists like Billy Graham played a significant role in spreading religious messages and connecting believers through mass media, reinforcing evangelical Christian beliefs. Now, let's talk about cultural and social factors. The South's cultural and social fabric has also played a significant role in maintaining its religious intensity. The region's history of slavery and the subsequent segregation and racial tensions have deeply influenced its religious practices. During the Great Awakenings, preachers often crossed traditional barriers of class and race, spreading their message to anyone who would listen. And I mean anyone. This inclusive approach helped integrate religion into the daily lives and identities of people across different social classes. And it's also important to understand that the rural and agricultural nature of the South fostered a community-centered way of life, where the church served as a central institution. The church provided not only spiritual guidance, but also social support and a sense of community. This strong community focus helped maintain religious traditions and practices over generations. To further understand the extent of religiosity in the South, examining statistical data provides valuable insights. According to the Pew Research Center, the southern states consistently show higher rates of religious affiliation and practice compared to other regions. For instance, in a 2014 survey, 76% of adults in the South identified as Christian, compared to 70% in the Midwest, 65% in the West, and 57% in the Northeast. Church attendance also reflects this trend. In a 2018 Gallup poll, 43% of Southerners reported attending religious services weekly, compared to 36% in the Midwest, 31% in the West, and 29% in the Northeast. That's a pretty serious difference. States like Mississippi and Alabama consistently rank among the highest in terms of weekly church attendance, with rates exceeding 50%. Furthermore, the South hosts a significant number of mega churches, defined as churches with weekly attendance of 2,000 or more. According to the Hartford Institute for Religion Research, approximately half of the mega churches in the United States are located in the South, underscoring the region's robust church-going culture. Today, the South remains a bastion of religious fervor in the United States. States like Alabama and Mississippi have some of the highest church attendance rates in the country, with a significant portion of the population attending religious services regularly. This contrasts sharply with more secular regions like New England and the Pacific Northwest. However, the overall religious landscape of the United States is changing. Christianity, while still the largest religion in the country, has been declining. In 1976, 91% of Americans identified as Christian. By 2022, this number had dropped to 64%, which is huge. The rise of secularism, rationalism, and multiculturalism, along with the mixing of religion with politics, has led to a growing number of religiously unaffiliated individuals, often referred to as nuns. Interestingly, while Southern Baptist churches have been declining in most regions, they've seen growth in New England. This shift highlights the dynamic nature of religious affiliations and the changing religious landscape of the country. Another factor reinforcing the South's religious intensity is the strong link between religion and politics in the region. The Republican Party, with its platform of conservative social values, has garnered significant support from Southern evangelicals. Issues like abortion, same-sex marriage, and religious freedom have galvanized religious voters, leading to a powerful alliance between church and state. This political dynamic has further entrenched religious beliefs in Southern culture. Political candidates often emphasize their faith and moral values, appealing to religious constituents. Churches, in turn, become centers of political activity, influencing voter behavior and public policy. Despite its strong religious identity, the South faces challenges in maintaining its religious fervor. The rise of secularism and the increasing number of nuns reflect broader societal trends that are influencing even the most religious regions. Younger generations in particular are becoming more disillusioned with organized religion, often citing its involvement in politics and a perceived lack of relevance to contemporary issues. A 2021 survey by the Public Religion Research Institute found that only 46% of young adults ages 18 to 29 in the South identified as religiously affiliated, compared to 69% of adults aged 50 and older. This generational divide suggests a potential shift in the region's religious landscape over time. However, that doesn't mean that things are going to change overnight. The South's deeply ingrained religious culture and community-focused way of life continue to sustain its religious identity. The region's churches play a crucial role in providing social support, fostering a sense of belonging, and maintaining traditional values. This community support, in particular, is super important in the context of economic challenges, as the South generally has higher poverty rates compared to other regions. Religion in education and media. The influence of religion in the South extends beyond churches and into other social institutions, such as education and media. Many Southern states have strong traditions of Christian education, with numerous private Christian schools and colleges. Institutions like Baylor University in Texas and Liberty University in Virginia are prominent examples of higher education institutions with strong religious affiliations. In addition, religious broadcasting remains popular in the South. Christian radio stations, television networks, and online platforms reach millions of viewers and listeners, spreading religious messages and reinforcing faith-based values. Televangelists like Joel Osteen and Joyce Meyer have large followings, and their programs are widely viewed across the region. African American churches also play a pivotal role in the religious and cultural landscape of the South. Historically, these churches have been central to the African American community, providing not only spiritual guidance but also social support and leadership in the fight for civil rights. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., who was a Baptist minister, exemplify the powerful connection between faith and social justice. Today, African American churches continue to be influential in addressing social issues and promoting community development. They serve as vital centers for activism, education, and economic empowerment, reinforcing the strong ties between religion and social change in the South. Now, let's talk about something that people bring up a lot when it comes to the southern states: the Bible Belt. The term Bible Belt was coined in the 1920s by journalist H.L. Mencken, who used it to describe the region's pervasive religious conservatism. Despite its origin as a somewhat pejorative term, it's come to symbolize the South's unique religious culture. The Bible Belt stretches from Texas to Virginia, encompassing states like Georgia, South Carolina, and Tennessee, where religious adherence and church attendance are exceptionally high. The Bible Belt's legacy is evident in various aspects of Southern life, from the prominence of religious symbols in public spaces to the widespread observance of religious holidays and practices. Churches are often the largest and most architecturally significant buildings in small towns, reflecting their central role in community life. The U.S. South's intense religiosity is the result of a complex interplay of historical, cultural, social, and economic factors. From the early colonization period and the divergent religious evolution of the North and South to the powerful waves of religious revivals and the deeply rooted community-centered way of life, the South's religious identity has been shaped by a myriad of influences over hundreds of years. While the overall religious landscape of the United States is becoming more secular, the South remains a stronghold of religious fervor. The region's churches continue to play a significant role in shaping cultural and social norms, providing a sense of community and sustaining traditional values. As society continues to evolve, it'll be interesting to see how the South's religious identity adapts to new challenges and opportunities. Is it going to become more prominent or less prominent? Religion in the South is not just about theological beliefs. It's a fundamental part of the region's cultural identity. Understanding why the U.S. South is so religious requires looking at the historical context, the influence of religious revivals, the impact of economic and geographical factors, and the enduring cultural and social structures that continue to sustain its religious fervor. The South's religious landscape is a testament to the powerful and enduring influence of faith in shaping societies and communities. Despite challenges and shifts in societal attitudes, the South's religious fervor shows no signs of waning. The region's churches remain vital centers of social life, political activity, and cultural continuity. As new generations navigate their faith in a changing world, the South's religious heritage will undoubtedly continue to play a significant role in shaping its future. And hey, if you liked this video, please subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell icon to see our next video, where we'll head to Asia to dive deep into an interesting geopolitical case of tensions. We'll talk about why North Korea won't invade South Korea right now. You don't want to miss that, so stay tuned.